Thanks for tuning in to the Charles Novell School of Music podcast, The Best Day Yet. Here you'll find tips, insight, and information to help your music and your ministry succeed. Whether you're a singer, a musician, or a songwriter, we want to help you where you are, but we also want to help you get to where you want to go. We believe that our talents are God's gift to us, but what we do with those are our gift back to God. Yesterday's information is important, but what we can learn today will make this the best day yet. Hello, thanks for tuning in today to another episode of the CNS podcast, The Best Day Yet. I am Rob Novell, and I'm excited that you have joined us today. I hope you're getting a lot out of these podcasts. I have recently talked to some people, and the feedback has been really good. CNS is just about trying to help people with their music and with their ministries be the most effective that they can be. So thank you again for your time is valuable. So I appreciate you tuning in to learn some new things. Okay, today I'm excited. Over the next 30 minutes, before we finish this, or by the time, we finish this podcast today, you're going to have the ability to build or create 850 chords. Yep, you heard me correctly. 850 chords in the next 30 minutes. And if you act now and order within the next 15 minutes, we'll double your order and make it to... No, that almost sounds as crazy as some of those late night infomercials, but it's going to happen. I'll prove it here in just a few minutes. But first, hey, I just want to remind you, CNS 23 is coming July 16th through the 22nd. Will be our next national in-person session. We will be meeting at Murray State University in Murray, Kentucky. And you all, this is shaping up to be absolutely the best Charles Novell School of Music to date. And that's saying a lot because we have amazing schools every year. But why can I say that? Confidently, I can say that because we are tweaking and adjusting the schedule right now. I pretty much have all of our staff is in place, pretty much have all of our guests in place, and you all, it's going to be powerful. It's going to be impactful, and I'd love to see you there. We just announced in the last week, we also have a special discount that we are offering organized groups. If you're a trio or a quartet, man, if you're interested in the school, we would love to get you there as a full group. You can not only study individually, but we can get you group lessons with our staff during the week as well. So if you would be part of a group, a trio, a quartet, and you do have an interest in attending the Charles Novell School of Music, contact us. Reach out to us at www.cnsmusic.com. We'll get back with you and let you know about those special discounted rates for organized groups. Okay, so let's get into this. I want to prove that we can do this within 30 minutes. So I'm looking at the clock right now, and here we go. Okay, so I love music theory. Absolutely, it's one of my favorite aspects of music. And as a teacher, I love teaching young people, middle-aged people, adults, how to play and enjoy the gift of music. And along the way, I have had training. I grew up in this school. From the time I was young, I was attending classes and studying privately at the school. But then I also pursued music. I studied a lot when I was growing up. While I was in high school, I studied at the college prep department at the University of Cincinnati Conservatory of Music. Go Bearcats. And then went on into college as a music major. And so I've seen a lot of the kind of classical music approach to music theory. And what that has taught me when I combine what I've learned through attending this school my entire life to studying when I was in high school to studying in college and then through teaching, I have learned a lot of different approaches that I've kind of all rolled together and have come up with some shortcuts to let us work smarter, not harder. Why go the long route with things with my personal teaching when I get to a certain point and I've taught my students some certain things that are on that page of the book? we take a couple weeks worth of lessons showing them what they have learned to that point, what they've invested into their learning, and we can make a withdrawal at that point. So little shortcuts, little tricks that let us work smarter, not harder. Okay, so we're talking about chord building today, and the first thing we've got to talk about whenever we start talking about chords, our first chords that we learn are what we call triads. And a triad simply is a 3-note chord. And if we take just a second here to talk about this, we have in music, we have our keys are based around scales. Each song, each key has a scale that goes along with it. And a scale in music, scale comes from the Latin word scala, which means ladder. So if we think of scales this way, we start on a note, like starting on a step of a ladder, and we continue up each step until we get to the top. For us with scales, we're going to start on a particular note, let's say C, and then we're going to work our way up each step of the ladder until we get where? Until we get to C again. So our scales cover 8 notes, or what we call an octave in music, but they are actually 7 different tones. And they're a series of whole steps and half steps that are constructed and added together to give us whether it's a major scale or whether it's a minor scale. So today we're going to talk a little bit about half steps. We're going to talk a little bit about whole steps, and I will make some references to those to help make sense of this approach that we're taking today to chord building. So again, we're starting with triads. A triad is a 3-note chord. So I've taught it this way for years. We have when I'm teaching theory, we have 15 different keys in music. And that you may say 15. I've heard a different number. 12, maybe that number that you've heard. And not that we're going to debate this. We can't. You're not here, so I automatically win the debate because you're not here to debate it with me. So here's what we're going to talk. 15. And from that 15, here's where I get that number. We have our one natural key in music, which is C major. No sharps, no flats. Then we have 7 sharp keys and we have 7 flat keys. So that's a total of 15. All right. So if we use that number for 1 second, if we think about it, we can build, and those keys are C, our sharp keys are G, D, A, E, B, F sharp, C sharp. Our flat keys, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat is the last one. So if we just use those 15 that I just said, and we build a triad above each note, starting note, or what we call our root note of those 15, we could come up with what we could call 15 major triads. All right. Then we have 15 what we call minor triads, 4 types of triads in music. The first is major, the second is minor, the third is what we call augmented. So we could have 15 there, and then we could have 15 what we say diminished, all right? So if we add that up real quick, we can build 15 major, 15 minor, 15 augmented, 15 diminished. That is 60 potential root position triads that we can build, all right? So there's a number for us. Now, I want to increase that number to 68. If we think of this, if we start on C and then we work our way in half steps up that octave from C to C, going in semitones or half steps all the way up, we could have a C sharp, or what we call D flat, correct? If we raise a note to, say, if we're talking the piano, if we raise a note from C up to that black key, that is a sharp. Then if we go on up to D and we lower D, that is what we call a flat. So we have C, and then if we go up a half step, we have 2. It could be C sharp or D flat. Go up a half step, D. Go up a half step, D sharp, or what? E flat, correct? Go up a half step to E, half step up to F. Remember, in music, we have what we call our 2 natural half steps between E and F and B and C. Why? The piano is the most easy because it's visual instrument to see this on. What are we missing? Between E and F and B and C, there is no black key. So these are what we call 2 natural half steps in music. So continuing, F sharp and then G flat, G, G sharp, A flat, A sharp / B flat, B, and then we end on C. So that is a total of 17 root chords that we could build. So instead of the 15 that I mentioned a while ago, let's look at it this way. 17 major, 17 minor, 17 augmented, 17 diminished. That now is a total of 68 root position triads. So we found 8 extra chords in that approach right there. All right. So let's talk for a second about how we actually build a triad. There's several ways. If you go the old school music theory route, they will tell you a triad consists of 2 intervals of thirds stacked together. If we look at a C chord, C, E, and G, we have a major third from C to E on bottom, and then the middle E up to the top note G, that is a minor third. So a major third stacked with a minor third. We can look at that approach. We could do that for all 17 that we just talked, or you may have heard it this way. You take out the first, the third, and the fifth note of your scale. That's a great approach. But here's the thing. You have to know each and every scale in order to actually know those 3 notes. So we can stack thirds. We can take the third, or the first, the third, the fifth note out of each scale. Or here's the simplest approach. I have 2 math equations, and if you will use these math equations, it's going to allow you to build any major or any minor triad in existence of major and minor triads. And they're very, very simple. The first one is this. We're going to talk major. To build a major chord, the mathematical equation that you just simply need to memorize, it's really simple. So here we go. 4 plus 3 equals 7. If you can remember 4 plus 3, you can build any major chord on the piano. Here's how that works. Let's look at C again as an example. C is our root. We're going to start on C. And then here's what I want you to do. I want you to count up 4 half steps. So C, and then C sharp would be 1, D would be 2, D sharp would be 3, E would be 4. There's our 4. C to E is the 4. So C is the root. Count up 4 half steps. We land on E. That becomes the second note of our triad. Then we're going to count up 3 half steps from the E. So that would be F, F sharp, and we land and resolve and end on the G. So C, E, G, 4 plus 3. Really, really simple. That works for any triad. Let's try F sharp major. F sharp is our root. Then we're going to count up how many? 4. So G is 1, G sharp is 2, A is 3, A sharp is 4. So F sharp's the root, A sharp now is the second note of that triad. Now we count up 3. From the A sharp, we go B, C, C sharp is 3. So F sharp, A sharp, C sharp gives us an F sharp major triad. Simple, 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 simple. That works for all 17 that we talked a while ago. Okay, so now let's talk minor. How do we build a minor triad? It's the reverse. It is simply 3 plus 4. Let's go back to C major. C is our root. We start on C. Now we're going to count up 3 half steps. C sharp, D, D sharp, or what? E flat. That's the second note of our C minor triad. So C is the root. The middle note now is E flat. Now we count up 4 half steps. So from the E flat, E would be 1, F 2, F sharp 3, G would be 4. There's our third note. So C, E flat, and G form our C minor triad. That's 3 plus 4. All right, now let's try that on A flat. Let's do an A flat minor. A flat's going to be 1. Then we're going to count up how many? 3 half steps. So A would be 1, B flat, B would be 2, or I'm sorry, B would be the 3. So A flat up to B, and then we count up 4 from there. C, C sharp, D, E flat, A flat, B, E flat. There is our A flat minor chord. It's very, very simple, you all. Now, Those equations are real similar, 4 plus 3 and 3 plus 4. So how do we remember the difference or distinguish between the two? It's this simple. Major, all of our musical terms are Latin or Italian origin. So major means large. If you have a major problem, what? You have a large problem. Minor means small. If you have a minor problem, it's a small problem. So the larger number is the 4. So to remember that that's major, again, even in notation, just a capital letter, a large letter means major. We have to see the lowercase m to signify the minor. So the large number is the 4, that connects to the major. The smaller number, minor means small. So the 3 being the first number, that's our equation for the minor. So that's how we tell the difference between the two. Okay. So we are now at 34 chords, a total of 34 chords. Okay. We still have time. I've got time. I'm looking at the clock. We're at 64 potential chords that you can build. 17 major, 17 minor. Our third type of triad is what we call an augmented triad. Augmented, the origin of that means larger. If your situation augments or your problem augments, it gets larger. With the fourth type of triad is what we call diminished. And if your situation diminishes, what happens to it? It gets smaller. Okay, so here we go. With our augmented triads, a couple ways that they're taught in theory. You take out the first, the third, and the fifth note of your major scale. You take that fifth and you raise it a half a step. So like C, E, G is our C major chord. G's that fifth. If we're going to raise the fifth, it becomes G sharp. So now C, E, G sharp, that becomes a C, what we call augmented chord. That interval of that perfect fifth from the root C to the G has increased by half a step. It has augmented. It's become larger. So I think the easiest way to remember or to build an augmented chord, once we learn the 4 plus 3 to create our major triad, simply know the rule. The difference between a major and an augmented chord is the fifth note, the 5 is raised a half a step. So if you do the 4 plus 3 to find your C major chord and simply raise the 5 to G sharp, you've got an augmented. Diminished means smaller. If your situation or your bank account diminishes, it becomes smaller. So those two stacked intervals become smaller. They both are lowered. If we take the numbers, we're talking a 1, a 3 flat, and a 5 flat. So again, we can look at this two ways. We can take our major chord, which we know how to build from 4 plus 3. Once we get that C, the E, and the G, we simply can lower the E and we can lower the G. So C, E flat, G flat would be a C diminished chord. We could also use the 3 plus 4 to go ahead and get that lower third, the C, the E flat, and then just think, okay, we've got to lower the fifth as well. So C, E flat, G flat. All right, so we talked a while ago, we had got to a total of 34 with the 17 major and the 17 minor. Now, if we add in 17 augmented and we add in 17 diminished, we have got to 68 root position triads. 17 major, 17 minor, 17 augmented, 17 diminished, correct? 68. Okay, so here's the thing with triads. If there are, a triad means 3 notes. Tri means 3. A triad is a 3-note chord. If there are 3 notes in that C major chord, C, E, and G, there are 3 ways that we can play that chord. We've been talking root position. We can adjust or change or what we call invert the order of the notes, and we get into what we call a first and second inversion with these triads. All right. The first inversion is where if we go the theory route, we say 3, 5, we move the 1 to the top. So root position is 1, 3, 5. First inversion, we start on the root, we start on the 3, we go to the 5, and then we've moved the root to the top. Second inversion, we start on the 5, the 1 is in the middle, and the 3 is on the top. I love second inversion triads because that's the area code of home for me. Cincinnati, go Bearcats. That's twice I've got that in there today. All right. So we have what we call first inversion and we have second inversion. So we have 68 root position chords. We can also have 68 first inversion. We can have 68 second inversion. So our total number of 68 potential chords that we can build today has just increased to 204 total triads. 68 root position, 68 first inversion, 68 second inversion. All right. So a couple little equations that we can look at to help us remember the inversions as well. We did the 4 plus 3 for major, the 3 plus 4 for minor. 3 plus 5 will give you a first inversion triad. 3 plus 5. So let's look at our C major chord, C, E, G. We're going to start on the third and then count up 3 half steps. E, F would be 1, F sharp, G would be 3. Then we're going to count up 5. From the G, 1 would be G sharp, 2 A, 3 A sharp, B flat, 4 would be B, 5 would be C. So 3 plus 8 is first inversion. Second inversion, the equation is 5 plus 4. So we're going to start on the fifth this time, the G. We're going to count up 5 half steps from there. So G, G sharp would be 1, A would be 2, A sharp 3, B would be 4, C is 5. So G and C. And then from the C, we're going to count up 4. C sharp 1, D 2, D sharp 3, 4, we land on the E. So G, C, E, 5, 1, 3 on top. That's our second inversion. All right, so 3 plus 5 is a little equation you can use to build any of those 68 root position triads. You can use those equations to get first inversion, and then the 5 plus 4 you can use to get the second inversion. Okay, so now, how do we tell the difference between those two equations? Well, if we look at the major and the minor triads, those equal 7. 4 plus 3 is 7, and then 3 plus 4 is 7. The 4 being the larger number we said was major. The 3 plus 4, 3 lower number, smaller number, that's minor. Both of those equal 7. If we look at the first inversion equation, 3 plus 5 equals what? 8. And then the second inversion, 5 plus 4 equals 9. They simply go in order, 7, 8, 9. So why was 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. All right, that was free. That didn't cost you anything. All right, so here's where we are again. We are looking at 68 root position triads you can build, 68 first inversion, 68 second inversion. That is a total of 204 triads to date. Okay, now that kind of closes the door for us on triads. From there, what we do is we get into what we call added chords in music. Added chords can be very confusing, very, very confusing. We're talking sevenths, ninths, tenths, 11ths, 13ths, etc. We're talking all of those suspended chords. There's so many different added chords, but I want to take a very, very simple approach to learning them and to introducing them and to building them with you today. So let's talk added chords. Here we go. All right. Basically, an added chord is this: a triad plus an added note. So we're going to be, for the next little bit here, we're going to be talking 4 notes and forming these chords as we move forward. One of the easiest approach with added chords, an added chord again was when we see the letter like C or F or G and then a number added to it, a 7, an 11, a 9. So one of the easiest approaches, or the easiest approach to find that added note, if that number is greater than 8, our octave, subtract that number from 7. So if you see a 9, subtract 7 from 9 and you get what? 2. So your second note of your scale becomes that added note, that 9. So in C, our second note of our scales follow the order of the music alphabet. So C is 1, D would be 2. So a C9 chord would be a C triad plus a added 9. All right. So let's talk specific types of added chords. We're going to talk and start today with seventh chords. And we have 5 type of seventh chords. We have major sevenths, we have dominant sevenths, minor sevenths, diminished sevenths, and also what we call half diminished sevenths. So let's start building these seventh chords. The first one that we want to talk about are what we call our major seventh chords. And a major seventh chord is constructed this way. It's a major triad plus the added major seventh note. The easy way to find our sevens is this. Our scales cover an octave, C to C, C being the upper octave. If we come down a half a step, that puts us on that major 7 note. So C to B is a major 7. So a C major 7 chord would be C, E, G, and B. If we look at that by the numbers, that's the 1, the 3, the 5, and the 7. All right, now with our seventh chords, back when we talked triads, we had 3 notes in the chord, so we talked there were 3 ways to play it. With our seventh chord being 4 notes, that actually gives us 4 ways. A root position 7 and then 3 inversions to go along with it. So that is going to give us, for our major seventh chord, that gives us a potential of 68 chords we can build. 17 possible triads that we talked earlier, major triads, and then 4 positions to play it. That's a total of 68. Our second type of seventh chords are what we call the dominant 7. And the dominant 7 is a major triad plus a flatted 7th on top. So we found the 7 while ago by coming a half step down from the octave, from C down to B. The flatted 7th is a whole step lower than the octave. So in this case, that would make that from C, B is a half step, B flat makes that the whole step. So a C dominant 7 is a C major triad on bottom, C, E, G, and then a B flat added on top, C, E, G, B flat on top. Once again, the 17 possible triads that we learned earlier, we add in the flatted 7th, 4 notes, so we have 4 positions. We've got another total 68 chords at this point. The third type of sevenths we want to talk about are what we call the minor sevenths. Minor sevenths are built this way. It's a minor triad on bottom plus a minor 7th on top. So we know our minor triad, the 3 plus 4, C, E flat, G. We're talking C, you all, because it's just the easiest key to talk. C, E flat, G is that minor triad. The minor 7th is that flatted 7th that we just talked on the dominant. So it is C to B flat. So C, E flat, G, B flat on top gives us a C minor 7th. Again, 17 possible minor triads that we talked earlier. So if we add the flatted 7th to all 17 of those with the 4 notes, again, we have 4 positions. 4 times 17 gives us, with our minor 7ths, gives us a total of another 68 chords. Our fourth type, I just said it, are our diminished 7ths. A diminished 7th is a diminished triad plus a diminished 7th. So let's talk that real quick. A diminished triad, that C diminished triad would be C, E flat, G flat, 1, 3 flat, 5 flat. The diminished 7th, we lower that another half step. So it would be C, E flat, G flat, A on top. 17 possible diminished triads, 4 notes adding in that 7, 4 positions, another potential 68 chords. The fifth and final 7th chord is what we call our half diminished 7. A half diminished 7th is constructed this way. It's a diminished triad on bottom, 1, 3 flat, 5 flat, and then it's just the minor 7 on top. back to the B flat. So C, E flat, G flat, B flat on top. Again, we talked 17 potential diminished triads earlier. We add in the minor seventh this time. That's 4 notes. So again, 4 positions. Once again, you all, another potential 68 chords that we can build. So if we do our math and we get a total real quick, we just introduced the 5 type of sevenths: major sevenths, dominant sevenths, minor sevenths, diminished sevenths, half diminished sevenths. 4 notes in each of those, 17 possible triads that we learned earlier. That's 68 for each of those 5. 68 times 5, you all, is 340. We add that to the 204 total triads that we learned earlier. That's a total of 544 potential chords we can build to date. Let's keep moving on with these added chords. Let's talk 6 chords next. A major 6 and a minor 6 chord we can build. Let's talk the major 6. A major 6 is a major triad, 1, 3, 5, plus we add in the 6th note of that scale. If we're talking C like we've been, C, D, E, F, G, A. A is our 6th note. So a major triad, 1, 3, 5, plus adding the 6, that would be C, E, G, and A. Again, you all, you're seeing a pattern here. We had 17 possible major triads earlier. We add in the 6th note, that's 4 notes. That gives us 4 positions, 4 inversions, 4 ways to play these chords, for a total of 68 potential major 6 chords. The second type of 6 is the minor 6. A minor 6th chord is built this way: a minor triad on bottom, add the 6th note on top, that would be C, E flat, G, and A on top. So again, we have 4 notes here. We have 17 possible minor triads, root position, 3 inversions, another total of 68. So we've finished now with the 6 chords, major 6 and minor 6. Major 6 again is a major triad plus a 6th. The minor is a minor triad plus a 6th. 4 positions, 68 for each. If we add those 2 6 chords in, that's 136. So 204 triads earlier, 340 sevenths, 136 sixth chords. We're now at a total of 680 potential chords that we can build today. All right, we're going to wrap this up. The last that we're going to talk about are what we call our 9th chords, okay? With our 9ths, the theory approach on this is this. A 9th chord is a major 7th chord plus an added 9. The major 7 we talked a while ago was C, E, G, B on top. Here's the 9. Here's where we see that number greater than the octave. Subtract 7 from that 9, you get 2. Our second note in our C scale is a D. So a C major 9 chord, theoretically, is C, E, G, B, and then a D added in there. So this time we have 5 total notes in that chord. So we have the root position, major 7 triad, and then with the 5th note in here, y'all, we have 4 inversions, 4 possible ways to play this major 9 chord. So 17 possible, 5 positions, 17 times 5, you all, is a total of 85 major 9 chords that we could build. The last one we're going to talk, minor 9ths. A minor 9th is constructed this way. It's a minor 7th chord on bottom plus the added 9th. So we have a C, an E flat, a G, a B flat, and then we're adding the 9 in, again, the D. 5 notes again. We've got the root position. We've got 4 inversions, 17 possible, 5 positions, 17 times 5. Another 85 chords. Here's our total today. 204 total triads we can build, 340 total 7th chords we can build, 136 total 6th chords we can build, and 170 total ninth chords that we can build. That gets us to that number. We reached it. I'm looking at the clock. We are in good shape. 850 total chords that we can construct. So we did it. We made it happen. Hey, here's the whole reason I did this today. I am wanting to spark your creativity. There are a lot of different things. As you get deeper into music theory and you study this, you will learn and see some things like with our seventh chords. A lot of our piano method books, our lesson books, they teach not necessarily that a seventh chord is 4 notes. We can omit notes. We talk 5 notes with the 9 chords. We don't necessarily always have to play all 5. What I want you to do is get in, listen, build these chords, hear these chords, see what it does for your level of creativity. You know what? I'm going to throw one final one out. This isn't on our list. This wasn't one of the 5 type of seventh chords, but experiment. Again, I want you to be creative. A minor triad on bottom, C, E flat, G. Try putting the major 7 on top, the B. Listen to that sound. See if that does something for you and if it's something you could find a way of utilizing. Listen, all of this, it's fun. It's exciting. If you can't tell, I am kind of a theory geek. I love this end of things. And, you know, when we find these shortcuts, when we find ways to do things smarter, not harder, I promise you, it's going to make this be your what? Your best day yet. Y'all be blessed. We'll talk next time. Thanks for listening to the Charles Novell School of Music podcast, The Best Day Yet. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter under the name the Charles Novell School of Music. And for more information on CNS and our upcoming events, like our online school, our weekend regional sessions, our creative coaching, and our pastor's retreat, you can visit us at our website at www.cnsmusic.com. As you've listened to this episode, we hope that you've gained some information that you can apply to your music and to your ministry to make today the best day yet.